Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. An acting top cop is not the best option for Trinidad and Tobago. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Friday, 26 May 2023. Details when we return.
Hubbard's Motor Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Welcome back. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley told the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago that his administration does not subscribe to having a temporary acting position in the post of Police Commissioner as being the best leadership for the police service. The Prime Minister was responding to a question from the opposition in the House of Representatives. TV6's Joel Brown reports.
During Prime Minister's questions time in the House of Representatives on Wednesday, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley faced a question from Naparima MP Rodney Charles on behalf of the opposition about one of Trinidad and Tobago's leading office holders in the war on crime.
Will the Prime Minister state what measurable performance criteria were used to inform his decision to offer a one-year contract to extend Mrs. Erla Hereford Christopher's position as Commissioner of Police?
Prime Minister, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I know that my colleague from Naparima and his friends have something against a substantive appointment of a police commissioner.
And upon reference to the past appointments of acting police commissioners.
This government does not subscribe to the fact that a temporary acting position is the best leadership for the police service because they will do the work better. That was a UNC position. In February, we were in this very house, and that's only a few weeks ago. It's now March, April, May. 3 months, 12 weeks ago, just over 12 weeks ago, this very house used the criteria sent to us by selection from the Service Commission to appoint Mrs. Christopher as the substantive Commissioner of Police.
On February 3rd, Mrs. Hereford Christopher received the unanimous support of elected members of the House of Representatives on the government and opposition benches to be appointed Police Commissioner.
I do not believe that my colleague from Naparima is saying that in the last 12 weeks that we should have had new criteria and an officer was just on to office 12 weeks ago.
Last week, the top cop told the Parliamentary Joint Select Committee that where the reduction target of a 20% reduction in the murder toll was concerned, the police service is, in her words, challenged and that there has been a 10% increase in murders. However, the police commissioner said the police service has had successes in other crime reduction strategies. The Prime Minister's message to the opposition?
And if you wanted an assessment, I will tell you, we are using the same assessment we used 12 weeks ago because from the standpoint, it's not changed. As a matter of fact, it was members of the opposition who pointed out that the requirement will change very quickly because she was close to retirement age and asked the government what could happen. And I told this House that because of the provision in place for contract appointment of continuation, we expect that there will be a continuation with cabinet approval because she was close to her retirement age. It was the opposition that raised that. So to come here 12 weeks later and ask what is the criteria, you're abusing the opportunity to ask a question.
Joel Brown, TV6 News.
One political commentator in Jamaica has described the Prime Minister's move to not accept his salary increase as damage control, while another says it is simply not a significant move at this point in the conversation. This as the conversation around the recent pay hike for politicians continue. Natalia Clark of CVM Live reports.
In a drastic turn of events, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has declined the over 200% salary increment recently afforded to him. This decision, however, has sparked a wave of criticism from at least two political commentators.
That is just an attempt at damage control and political suicide. The Prime Minister seemed to have read the pulse of the Jamaican people very well. He understands that we are righteously indignant about this massive increase to himself, the other members of the political directorate, and the raise given to the representative of our oppressor, King Charles, the Governor General.
Williams notes also his belief that the opposition is lacking in their ability to hold the government accountable.
I would have expected His Majesty's loyal opposition to be more forthcoming in denouncing the raises. And Mark Golding's suggestion that he'll pay over 80% of what he earns simply suggests that there's rot in the opposition also.
Meanwhile, Kevin O'Brien Chang is describing the move as too little, too late.
But if they came back now and said, look, we here's the theory of what we were doing, regularizing salaries of permanent secretaries and all that. But we realize that perhaps we're out of touch with the public sentiment right now. We still believe the principle of what we're doing is correct, but we're going to wheel and come again.
He says he supports the theory of the increase and appreciates the vision the government has for Jamaica, but the country is simply not there yet.
If I was the Prime Minister, I would roll back these increases from 200% increase to 100% increase.
Both political commentators foresee Holness's announcement causing more harm than good and urges the government to embark on a journey to regain the trust of the Jamaican people. Natalia Clark, CVM Live.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
Guyana's opposition leader is calling for heads to roll in the wake of a deadly fire in a dormitory of a secondary school that claimed 19 young lives. TV6's Nicole M. Romney has more.
According to opposition leader Aubrey Norton, people would have gone into the building using hammers to break the wall and get the children out. He also lamented the absence of health supplies to deal with the injured.
That again is a manifestation of not only negligence but incompetence on the part of the Ministry of Health. In my opinion, there should be at least 3 resignations here. The Minister of Education, the Minister of Health, and the Minister of Public Works.
He noted that building code standards were not in place at the school, citing it as a major problem.
The information is that it was ill-equipped to be able to deal with the fire, the absence of fire extinguishers, no alarm systems. And then it is compounded by the fact that you grill this entire building up, and there was no mechanism in the case of any form of disaster for the children to get out.
19 children, 18 teenagers, and a 5-year-old boy died in the fire that engulfed the school. Guyana is now observing day 2 of 3 days of national mourning declared by President Dr. Irfan Ali. Nicole M. Romney, TV6 News.
Turning our attention now to St. Kitts and Nevis. When the initial announcement was made regarding the housing developments spearheaded by Trinidad company East Developers, it stimulated quite a bit of talk, concern and speculation. Among the concerns raised were those associated with the level of involvement of the government, issues of quality assurance, and what really is in it for nationals. Glenn Bart of SKN Newsline has more.
During recent media engagements, members of the government sought to clarify the matter.
And I had been writing on my Facebook for months that our contractors are needed, that when we start the housing revolution and we start to pursue these large number of houses, that our people are the one who must build them. Nobody is going to come into St. Kitts and Nevis building houses for our people. And our people are not the contractors. Our people must be the contractors, the painters, the roofers, the carpenters, the masons, the heavy equipment operators, and whoever else, the steel benders, if you need that, whoever else will be involved in the construction of these homes. Clear. So those are two things that I want to get clear, because I'm hearing talk about our local people not getting jobs. When I've been saying that for months, when it's specified in the contract as well, that our people must be the ones to build them. That is important to us, because part of this is to provide jobs for years. We want our people to be working, to be productive. And that is why we are pursuing it.
Government has a very limited role in the agreement. However, the agreement was prepared and vetted by the Attorney General's office. There is strong protection in the agreement in terms of quality of homes, in terms of delivery of homes, in terms of the use of local contractors. All of that is contained in the contract. I feel certain that we have sufficient protections that will protect NHC, will protect the government, and will protect the homeowner built into the agreement.
But not everyone is fully sold on the project. Socio-political commentator and a former Minister of Government, Ian Patches-Liberd, believes NHC, which he said should be focused on housing for the less bankable in our society, is straying from its remit, and it could have harmful effects.
So what solution, we must ask, is required to carry out the mandate of the National Housing Corporation, which is to provide housing for the poor, the access indigent, but for the poor and infirm. If no solution is found expeditiously, then the East Coast Housing Development Program will cause emotional and physical harm to the thousands of people who will apply for an house, only to be told that they are not bankable. What kind of government would facilitate the construction of 2,400 homes, and the majority of people who need them most would not qualify? What kind of government would facilitate that? It is an exclusionary discrimination practice that seeks to prevent poor people and our poor families from obtaining houses or housing.
Meanwhile, there is also the view that this newest housing revolution could be the start of something big for the economy of St. Kitts and Nevis. Glenn Butt reporting for SKN Newsline.
Hubbard's is once again innovating the way you shop with its new online store, providing 24-hour shopping convenience. You can shop now for appliances, hardware, houseware, building material, and more. Free delivery island-wide. Start shopping now at hubbardshardware.gd. Safe, convenient, reliable.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.